Every year the Commission Organizational Education, the German Educational Research Association GERA, holds conferences. So we have been starting with the topics of organization and experience, and then following up with topics like organization and consultancy, organization and leadership, as well cultural difference, participation have been topics we've been addressing in the past. Now this year we have been taking up the topic of organization and newness here at Philipps University of Marburg in Germany. So generally we host around 100 to 180 participants in our conferences, and this year for the first time we had a really international conference with 3 international fora from all over the world, so really broad international participation and scholars from all places coming in. So we have been supported and as well receiving a grant by the German Federal Institute for Vocational Education and Training, and as well the German Research Foundation gave us a grant to realize this conference. So for the first time we have been bridging the gap between science and art, inviting the international scholar and the international artist Amanda Bill coming in from New Zealand. Amanda Bill is social scientist with a background in gender studies and as well in design research and art, of course. And at the same time, she's an artist relating her academic work to the artwork. So we've been inviting her to show her artwork in an exhibition, and this very interesting project, a very intellectual project as well, has been related to Foucault's perspectives and is called 7 Lamps of Truth, Technologies of the Creative Self. And with this work she addresses the notion of creativity in a critical perspective, taking up Foucauldian perspectives of the technologies of the creative self and connecting it to the situation of universities nowadays. So the marketization of universities is addressed critically in this work, and she as well raises the question of resistance and of oppositional practices of academic actors. Change by design is the topic I would like to address today. So, talking about the dispositives of creation and institutional fields of the new. And so I think we're all faced the changes. We are in dynamic, accelerating societies. And I think we all know that there's so many discourses on future, on innovation, on creativity and the new. And there's so many words around and so many different discourses. So, and there's as well those topics quite a lot on the agenda of organizational change and organizational systems. So as always our conferences, we have plenary sessions and of course keynote speakers. We have national and international keynote speakers, and we have been addressing the different levels of innovation discourses and the relevance of the new for organizations at the micro level, at the meso level and at the macro level. So for the meso level, we have been inviting Rudolf Tippelt from Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich. He's one of the most renowned speakers and researchers and scholars, of course, in the field of institutional networking and cooperation. And he has been addressing this topic as a keynote speaker for our conference. Some remarks on his background. He's founding member of the Educational Research Association Organizational Education Commission, and he's chairing director of this board and steering committee of the national committees of the German Educational Research Association.
Die realen Wirkungen von interorganisationaler Kooperation, wenn sie dann Dropout bekämpfen soll, wenn sie die Familienbildung anregen soll, wenn sie die Beratung ausbauen soll, wenn sie unterprivilegierte soziale Milieus erreichen soll, wir müssen sie überprüfen, ob wir auch wirklich das erreichen. Das heißt also, wir haben eine enorme Evaluationsaufgabe Und diese Evaluation allerdings, die mündet dann nicht in eine mechanische Form der Steuerung, sage ich jetzt mal, das sehe ich nicht, sondern in eine sehr reflektierte Form der Gestaltung dieser Beziehungen zwischen den Organisationen und auch meiner eigenen Organisation. Insofern oute ich mich hier am Schluss, ganz ohne es zu sagen, als ein sozialer Konstruktivist. Wir müssen das sozial konstruieren, allerdings auf der Basis empirischen Grundlagenwissens. Herzlichen Dank.
Well, our third keynote address is held by Michael Peters, professor at Waikato University, Hamilton, New Zealand. And he's an international and very received and renowned scholar in the field of Foucauldian perspectives, as well working on the notion of creative labor. And in this contribution he addresses the topic of radical openness as a theory which is relevant for institutions and organizations, but of course as well in general for society. And he shows the links and the notions of radical openness as a desirable quality and a need for society and as well for educational institutions and organizations in general.
What I'm trying to move to is a concept of creative labor that might invest our future institutions with some kind of concept of creativity. Not yet here, the birth of this notion, the creative institution, what might it look like? Well, as its basis, I would say it has the notion of creative labor. And the creative labor, for me, flows out of this practice dimension.
Programmatics and semantics of the new, we address the social, political, and economical discourses and innovation ideas and concepts and programmatics which are relevant for the institutional or organizational level. If you think of PISA, if you think of organization development programs, or if you think of the evidence-based governance discourse, that all is relevant for the organizational level, and we are interested in learning and to analyze how this plays out and how this becomes relevant at this meso level of society.
Aber wann ist das Neue nicht mehr neu? Also für die Dokumente oder die ganzen vielen Rekonstruktionen der neuen Frauenbewegung lässt sich sagen, dass das Neue immer in Spuren und im Schillern mit nicht ganz Neuem oder sozusagen in der Verknüpfung mit dem Vorigen oder mit dem, was fesselt, betrachtet wird.
So in Forum 2 we address the topic of transformation of organizational routines and ask for the spaces and the actors of transformation and opening up new agendas at the organizational level. So be it the topic of higher education and the massive changes we've been facing there, or be it the topic of introducing meals in primary schools or whatever. So this produces massive shifts and massive changes within organizations, and we address this at an analytical level in Forum 2.
Auf der Mikroebene ganz stark die Erfahrung von Selbstwirksamkeit als Lerneffekt. Und auf der Meso-Ebene, also ich habe jetzt das tatsächlich ein bisschen auch sozusagen im Sinne einer Aufforderung hier stehen lassen, es ist für mich ganz deutlich geworden, Schule als lernende Organisation. Also es ist tatsächlich ein Lernprozess, der da möglich ist, der da auch angestoßen wird, aber der tatsächlich einfach sozusagen läuft.
So in our Forum 3 we address grammars, regimes and organizational orders of newness. And so we are interested in the dynamics created within organizations, and the relationship between new impulses and the given structures in organization. So think of cultural orders like the bureaucracy, the clan, the family type or the market type of organization, and how different innovation regimes take place in those different organizational cultures. This is the topic being addressed in Forum 3.
Man muss eine Problematisierung zustande bringen, die in irgendeiner Form interessant ist. Dass sozusagen das Problem sozusagen eine Konvergenz herstellt.
So in our Forum 4 we address observation of newness, so methodologies of research is the topic to address here. So how do we observe newness in organization? How do we observe the changes and the regimes and the routines given in those organizations? We work with different methodical approaches, like brand new ones, like autographical approaches to organization research, for example, or as well traditional evaluation approaches, or the whole range of qualitative and quantitative approaches is, of course, relevant here.
Jeder Forschungsprozess unterliegt zugleich auch dem Suchparadox der geplanten Innovation. Wie Bernhard Waldenfels schreibt, erreicht uns Neuartiges nur auf überraschende Weise, Zitat, ohne dass wir es intendieren können, denn intendieren lässt sich nur, was sich als bereits Bestimmtes erwarten lässt. In der anwendungsbezogenen Wissenschaft, die, wie gezeigt, Forschung und Intervention miteinander kombiniert, nimmt das Suchparadox die folgende Gestalt. Die Intervention zur Verbesserung der Innovationsfähigkeit der Unternehmen setzt genau jene Erkenntnisse bereits voraus, die erst auf ihrer Basis entstehen können.
So in Forum 5 we address the conceptualizations of newness in the process of organizing, so how in an organizational pedagogy perspective the concepts and methods to foster and to create change in organizations are being researched and addressed, and for example talk about mentoring programs or gender mainstreaming programs or any organizational development programs given there. What is their use, what is their character, what is effective and valuable for change processes?
Trotz Innovationshype und inflationärem Gebrauch auch des Terminus muss man natürlich auch ganz klar sehen, dass viele gute Ideen gar nicht umgesetzt werden, nach wie vor. Und hervorheben möchte ich jetzt, dass wir Innovationen in der Bildung, in der Aus- und Weiterbildung vorrangig als soziale Prozesse verstehen, im Wechselverhältnis zu technischen Neuerungen.
In our Forum 6, funded by the German Research Foundation, we've been addressing the topic of creative university, discourses, knowledge and innovation, and we've been addressing the notion of dominant discourses as well as marginalized and alternative discourses or possible discourses for the future in order to support the development of universities into a broader horizon than in the marketization concept we are facing nowadays.
All of those interrelated concepts. I'm talking about the creativity that we're being told to do at the moment
Yes.
by our university, management and by our economists, and that creativity is what and that's the one that I just read.
Which is that's the story of administrative reason again in relation to performance.
So in our Forum 7, sources, agents and ecologies of the new, we address the question of the sources of the new within organizing and organizational change. And we ask for the agents, for example, the newcomers to an organization, they are potential innovators. Are they taken serious? Are they taken up with their ideas or not? So this depends, of course, on organizational cultures like bureaucratic cultures, like cultures, profit, non-profit or administrative sector, and all those questions of ecologies of the new are addressed in this forum.
And that seems to be one of the frequent uses of artistic interventions, of them serving as a mirror, so that the work has to be done by the individuals. The work of reflection has to be done by the individuals, but the artist in engaging with what for them is a foreign culture, can hold up a mirror and make people realize, have you heard, have you listened to yourself? Have you seen yourself? Is this what you really want to be doing?
So in our International Forum 8, Newness Against the Grain, Organization, Self and Society, we address this interrelatedness of organizations to self and to society, and the question, where do alternative and new impulses come from in this interrelatedness to society and self? So what is the options for alternatives futures, where is options to resist against dominant discourses, and where is new paths and path creation into a sustainable future is topics being addressed there, for example, talking about transition towns.
Which is about learning and developing all our capabilities and aspiring to higher values, as it were. And holistic well-being is connectedness to do with our sense of social belonging, but also our sense of connectedness with nature and the kind of spiritual connectedness as well. Also confidence to be independent-minded. It's not about being in a community that simply defines everything for you.
Also schon, aber...
So in a total of 8 fora and nearly 60 contributions, we have been addressing the relationship between the micro, meso and macro level, and the question of discourses, of dominant, of marginalized discourses, and of the relationship between societal, economical, political, cultural and social discourses and social practices at the institutional and organizational level. So this topic, of course, of addressing institutions, organization as cultural orders, as symbolic orders, will be as well a task not being fulfilled with this conference, but a task which stays with us and the Commission of Organizational Education for our future conferences.